My child, before you put this down, before the next notification pulls you away, I am asking for just a few minutes of your full attention. Not the kind of attention you give while also thinking about everything else on your plate. I mean the kind where you actually stop. Put the phone face down for a second if you can, because what I have to say to you today is not for everyone scrolling past. It is for you, the one reading this on this exact day, in this exact frame of mind, carrying whatever it is you walked into this moment carrying. I know what woke up with you this morning. Before your eyes were even fully open, before your feet touched the floor, the weight was already there waiting for you, wasn't it? Maybe it was a number in your bank account that you have been avoiding looking at. Maybe it was the memory of a conversation that did not go the way you hoped. Maybe it was simply a feeling, heavy and formless, that something is wrong, even though you cannot quite name what. I know, I was there in that moment too, and I did not come here today to add to that weight. I came to help you put some of it down. You have been told, in 100 quiet ways, that this is just what life is, that exhaustion is normal, that anxiety is just part of being an adult, that you should be grateful for what you have and stop complaining, even to yourself, even in your own head. So you have learned to carry things silently. You have gotten so good at it that the people around you do not even know how heavy your load actually is. But I know. I have always known, and today I want to start by simply naming what you have been carrying, because sometimes the heaviest part of a burden is feeling like no one even sees that it exists. Before we go any further, I want to ask something small of you. If even this first part feels true, if you already feel something stirring, just tap that like. Not for me, for the person scrolling past in 5 minutes who will never see this unless enough people like you say it mattered. Your small action right now could be the reason this reaches someone tonight who has run out of people to talk to. Let me speak first to the fear that lives just under the surface of your everyday life. Not the dramatic kind of fear, not the kind that makes you scream or run, the quiet kind. The kind that sits in your chest like a low hum you have stopped noticing because it has been there so long. The fear that something is going to go wrong before it gets better. The fear that you are one bad diagnosis, one lost job, one broken relationship away from everything falling apart. You have built your entire life around managing that fear, around staying one step ahead of it, and it has cost you more than you realize. I see how tired you are of being the strong one. I see how you brace yourself even on good days, because good days have taught you not to trust them. They never seem to last. I see the way you check your phone first thing in the morning, half expecting bad news, and the small relief you feel when there is none. A relief that never quite settles, because you know tomorrow you will do it again. I did not design you to live like this. Fear was never meant to be your default setting. It was meant to be a signal, not a residence. And today I am telling you, you can ask it to leave, not pretend it is not there. Actually ask it to leave. Say this with me, even quietly, even just moving your lips. Say, fear, I see you, but you do not get to live here anymore. Say it again if the first time felt hollow. Sometimes the words need to be spoken a few times before they start to feel true. And that is okay. I am not asking for perfect faith. I am asking for a first step. Now I want to speak to something more specific because I know fear rarely shows up in general. It shows up attached to something. For many of you reading this right now, it is attached to money. I know what it feels like to open an app and feel your stomach drop before the screen even finishes loading. I know the particular exhaustion of doing math in your head at 2 in the morning, moving numbers around that refuse to add up no matter how you arrange them. I know the shame, the quiet shame, of comparing your situation to people around you who seem to have it figured out, and wondering what is wrong with you that you do not. Here is what I want you to understand. Your current numbers are not the final word on your life. I am not impressed or intimidated by what is or is not in your account right now. I have a long history of taking what looks like not enough and making it more than enough. Not always in the way people expect, sometimes through an opportunity that opens unexpectedly, sometimes through a relief that comes from an unexpected direction, sometimes simply through a peace that lets you function again, even while the situation is still being worked out. I am asking you to bring me the actual number, the real one, the one that makes your chest tight, and trust me with it instead of carrying it alone tonight. If you are willing, say this with me. My provision is not limited to what I can currently see. Say it slowly. Let it sit for a second before you move on. Now I want to talk about something a little different, something that does not always get named directly. I want to talk about the specific exhaustion of feeling like you are constantly performing. At work, you perform competence, even on days you feel like you are barely holding it together. At home, you perform patience, even when you are running on fumes. With friends, you perform that you are doing fine, because the truth feels too heavy to put on someone else, and you do not want to be the person who is always struggling. I see the gap between the person everyone else sees and the person you actually are when no one is watching. I see how exhausting it is to maintain that gap, day after day, the constant low-level effort of managing how you appear instead of simply being. And I want you to know, in this moment with me, you do not have to perform anything. I already know exactly who you are underneath all of it, and I am not disappointed. I am not waiting for you to get yourself together before I will accept you. You are accepted now, exactly as tired and frayed and uncertain as you currently are. If that landed somewhere in you, I want to ask you something. Drop one word in the comments right now. Just one. The word that describes what you have been hiding behind a smile lately. Tired, anxious, numb, whatever it is. Not for attention, but because there is something that happens when you name a thing out loud, even briefly, even anonymously. It loses a little bit of its grip, and someone else reading the comments might see your word and realize they are not the only one feeling it. Now I want to speak to the part of you that has been replaying the past. Not casually, not occasionally, but the kind of replaying that happens late at night, uninvited, when your mind goes back to a specific moment, a specific sentence, a specific decision, and plays it again and again as though enough repetition might somehow change the outcome. Maybe it is something you said in anger that you would give anything to take back. Maybe it is something you did not say, a moment you stayed silent when you should have spoken, and that silence has haunted you since. Maybe it is a choice, a big one that sent your life down a different road than the one you thought you would be on, and some part of you still grieves the road not taken. I want you to hear this clearly, because I think you have heard it before but not really received it. What I dealt with at the cross was not a partial settlement. It was not an installment plan where some debts remain outstanding pending good behavior. It was finished, completely. The moment you brought that thing to me, however long ago that was, it was already gone from my record. The only place it has continued to exist is in yours. You have been guarding a ghost, polishing the memory of something I already let go of a long time ago. I am asking you to do something today that might feel strange at first. I am asking you to forgive yourself for the thing you have never quite forgiven yourself for. Not because it did not matter, not because there were no consequences, but because holding on to it does not protect anyone anymore. It only keeps you tethered to a version of yourself that I have already released you from. Say this with me. I receive what was already finished, and I let go of what I have been carrying instead. Say it even if it does not feel completely true yet. Feeling comes after believing, not before. Now let me speak to the loneliness, because I know this one is different from the others. This is not the loneliness of being physically alone, although for some of you it is that too. This is the loneliness of being surrounded by people, family dinners, group chats, co-workers, and still feeling like no one actually knows you. Not the real you, the one who has thoughts they would never say out loud. The one who wonders sometimes if anyone would notice if they simply disappeared for a while. The one who has perfected the art of being present without ever being fully known. I know that loneliness intimately, because I have been there with you in every room where you felt it. I was there at the table where you smiled and nodded while feeling like you were watching the conversation from somewhere outside your own body. I was there in the moments you laughed at the right times while something inside you stayed completely still and untouched. You were never as alone in those moments as you felt. I was there, not observing from a distance, but right there with you in the ache itself. If there is someone in your life right now, and I think you already know who it is, someone who always seems fine, but you have wondered, just for a second, if they actually are, I want you to reach out to them today. Not with a big gesture, just a message. Hey, thinking of you, that is enough. You might be the only person who reaches out to them all week, and you will never fully know what that small message meant to them, but I will. Now I want to talk about control because I think this is one of the quieter struggles that almost no one names directly. I see your lists. I see your calendars, color-coded, accounted for down to the half hour. I see the way you try to plan for every contingency. Not because you enjoy planning, but because somewhere along the way you learned that if you stop anticipating problems, they will catch you off guard, and being caught off guard has cost you before. I understand why you do this, but I want to gently ask you something. How is it working? Are you actually less anxious because of all this planning, or has the planning itself become another source of anxiety? Another thing you have to maintain. Another way of trying to hold something that was never meant to be held by human hands. Here is what I am offering you instead. Not the absence of planning, but the absence of the belief that everything depends on you getting it exactly right. I am already present in tomorrow. I am already there, in the conversation you are dreading, in the decision you have not made yet, in the appointment you are anxious about. When you arrive there, I will not be arriving for the first time. I will already be there waiting for you. That does not mean nothing hard will happen. It means you will not be facing it for the first time alone because I got there before you did. Take a breath right now, a real one, slow, and as you breathe out, I want you to release something specific. Not everything, just one thing. Pick the heaviest thing on your mental list right now, the one thing you have been trying hardest to control, and as you exhale, hand it to me. You can pick it back up later if you need to. But for this one breath, let it be in my hands instead of yours. Now I want to speak to something that might be harder to hear, because I think some of you have been quietly angry. Maybe at a person, maybe at a situation. And maybe, if we are being honest, a little bit at me too. Angry that I did not step in sooner. Angry that prayers seemed to go unanswered while the thing you were afraid of happened anyway. Angry that other people seem to get easier paths while yours has felt unnecessarily hard. I am not afraid of your anger, and I am not going to punish you for having it. I would rather you bring it to me honestly than pretend it does not exist, and let it quietly poison everything else. But I do want to ask you something. Is the anger protecting you, or is it just keeping the wound open? Sometimes anger feels like strength, because it gives you something to hold on to, but it can also become the thing that keeps you stuck in the moment you got hurt, replaying it, unable to move past it because some part of you feels like moving past it would mean the hurt did not matter. It mattered. It still matters, and you can feel that it mattered while also choosing. When you are ready, not when I am rushing you, to stop letting that moment be the lens you see everything else through. If this is touching something real in you right now, I want to ask you to share this with someone. Maybe someone who has been carrying anger they have not had anywhere to put. You do not have to explain why you are sending it. Sometimes the message itself is the explanation. Now I want to talk about comparison because I think this is one of the most exhausting and least talked about struggles of the life you are living right now. You did not grow up constantly seeing curated highlights of thousands of other people's lives every single day. Your parents did not have to scroll past someone else's vacation, someone else's relationship, someone else's body, someone else's house, dozens of times before breakfast you do. And I know it has done something to you, slowly, almost without you noticing, the way water shapes stone over years. You look at someone else's life, and something in you quietly concludes that you are behind. Behind in your career, behind in relationships, behind in whatever timeline you secretly set for yourself when you were younger and thought you knew how things would go. And that conclusion sits there, low and constant, coloring how you see your own life even on days when, objectively, things are okay. I want you to hear this. What you are seeing is a curated fragment, not a full life. Almost everyone you envy is also, in some private moment you will never see, wondering if they are doing life right. Comparison has been quietly stealing something from you, a little bit at a time, and I am asking you to notice it today. Just notice it. The next time it happens, You do not have to fix it all at once. Just notice when it is happening. Noticing is the first step toward not being controlled by it anymore. Now let me speak to your body. Because some of you are not just carrying this emotionally, you are carrying it physically. The tension in your shoulders that has been there so long you forgot it was not normal. The headaches that come from nowhere. The way your stomach tightens before certain calls, certain rooms, certain people. Your body has been quietly absorbing everything your mind has been trying to push through. And it has been doing it for longer than you probably realize. I made your body, and I know it was never designed to be a storage unit for everything you have not had time to feel. Right now, wherever you are, I want you to do something small. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. Unclench your jaw. Let your stomach actually move when you breathe, instead of holding it tight. You do not have to brace for anything in this exact moment. There is nothing to brace for right now. There is only this breath, and me here with you in it. Now I want to speak to your relationships, the ones that have quietly gone cold or distant in ways that are hard to point to exactly. Maybe it is a marriage where the conversations have become mostly logistics. Who is picking up the kids? What is for dinner? And the warmth that used to be there has gotten buried under the routine of just getting through the days. Maybe it is a child who has pulled away, who used to tell you everything, and now tells you almost nothing, and you do not know when that shift happened or how to undo it. Maybe it is a friendship that simply faded, no fight, no falling out, just two people who stopped reaching out and never quite started again. I see all of these. I know the specific names attached to them in your heart right now, and I want you to know. I have a long history of working in relationships that look like they have gone quiet, not dramatic, just quiet. The kind of quiet that is harder to address because there is no specific event to point to, just an absence that has slowly grown. I am asking you to pray for these relationships, but I want to be specific about how. Not with a list of what the other person needs to change, but with a simple request: soften what has hardened, and show me one small step I could take. Sometimes the way back to someone is not a big gesture. It is one small step taken by one person who decided to go first. If there is someone you have been meaning to reach out to, and you have been putting it off because it feels awkward, or because too much time has passed, I want you to consider doing it today. Not a long message, just something. The bridge back to someone often only needs one person willing to take the first small step, and today could be that day. Now I want to talk about the dreams you have stopped mentioning out loud. The things you used to imagine for your life before responsibilities piled up, before disappointments taught you to keep your expectations modest so you would not be disappointed again. Maybe it is a creative project you shelved years ago. Maybe it is a relationship you stopped believing could be repaired. Maybe it is simply a version of your life that felt more alive than the one you are currently living, and you tucked that version away because it felt easier than continuing to hope for it and being let down. I have not forgotten what I placed inside you. The fact that years have passed does not mean the door has closed. I am not working on your timeline, and I am not intimidated by how long it has been since you last believed something was possible. Some of the most meaningful things I have done in people's lives happened after they had quietly stopped expecting them. I am not asking you to do anything dramatic today. I am simply asking you to let yourself consider just for a moment that it might not be too late. That is all. Just the possibility. Sometimes that is where everything starts. Now I want to speak to the way you talk to yourself because I have been listening, and some of what I hear breaks my heart a little. The way you call yourself stupid for a mistake that anyone could have made. The way one hard season becomes, in your own mind, evidence that you are simply a failure as a person, as though that season is the whole story instead of one chapter. You would never speak to someone you love the way you sometimes speak to yourself, and I want you to notice that gap. The next time you catch that harsh voice rising up, I want you to pause and ask one question. Would I say this to my closest friend if they were going through exactly what I am going through? If the answer is no, then the voice is not telling you the truth. It is just the loudest thing in the room right now. You are allowed to extend yourself the same grace you would give someone else without hesitation. Now I want to speak to the fear of what is coming, because I know some of you are not dealing with something abstract right now. You are dealing with something specific, a test result you are waiting on, a decision that has to be made soon, and there is no option that feels fully right. A change that is coming whether you feel ready or not, and you do not feel ready at all. I am not going to tell you it will be easy because I never promised easy, and you would not believe me if I said it now. What I am telling you is that I am already there, in the moment you are afraid of, before you arrive in it. You will not be facing it for the first time when it comes. I will already be there. If you are willing, name that thing right now, even silently. I already know what it is, but there is something that happens when you bring it out of the shadowed corner of your mind and into the light where I can actually meet you in it. Now I want to speak to something a little different, the fear of being forgotten. The quiet fear that when you are gone, whether that is decades from now or sooner than you would like, the world will simply continue on as though you were never here. That all the effort, all the love, all the quiet sacrifices no one saw, will not have mattered in any lasting way. I want you to hear this. The smallest things you do ripple outward in ways you will never fully see in this life. A kind word on a hard day. A choice to forgive instead of retaliate. Patience extended when you had every right to lose it. These do not disappear. They become part of the stories of everyone you have touched, and those stories continue long after you are no longer here to witness them. You are not invisible. You are woven into things that will outlast everything you can currently see. Now I want to talk about hope, real hope, not the kind that depends on circumstances changing first, but the kind that exists underneath circumstances, that can survive even while things are still hard. I know hope has felt risky to you lately, like something you are almost afraid to fully hold because you do not want to be disappointed again. That guardedness made sense as a way to protect yourself, but it has also cost you something, the ability to look forward to anything without immediately bracing for it to fall apart. Hope is not pretending. Hope is the quiet confidence that even in the middle of a story that has not resolved yet, the story is not over. I am still writing. There are chapters ahead of you that you cannot see yet, and some of them are more beautiful than anything you have walked through so far. I am asking you to hold on to hope, not because everything will be easy, but because it is not finished. If you have made it this far, I want to ask one more thing of you. Think of one person right now who might need to hear something true today. Not someone in crisis necessarily, just someone who might be quietly struggling in a way they have not said out loud. Send this to them or simply hold them in a thought, in a prayer for a moment. You never know what someone is carrying behind a closed door, and your willingness to think of them, to reach toward them, might be the exact thing they needed without ever knowing where it came from. Before we close, I want you to take stock of something. Whatever you walked into this with, I am asking you to leave a little lighter than you arrived. Not because everything is suddenly solved. The bills are still there. The relationship still needs work. The diagnosis is still pending. But because you remembered something today that maybe you had forgotten. You remembered you are not carrying this entirely alone. You remembered that the worst thing you have ever done was already dealt with a long time ago. You remembered that the story is not over, and that I am still in it with you, patient, present, and not going anywhere. Carry this with you for the rest of today. When the noise comes back, and it will, remember this moment. When the fear whispers that nothing has actually changed, remember this moment. Something shifted here, even if you cannot fully explain what or how. I am with you. I have been with you the whole time, and I am staying. If any part of this reached you today, like it, share it with someone who might need it. And if you are willing, leave a comment with the one word that describes how you feel walking away from this. Someone reading those comments later might find exactly the word they needed in yours. You are seen, you are not alone, and you are loved more completely than you have ever fully let yourself believe.